Yeah, I mean, so a lot of the work of BII, when it first started, the focus was on, and it still is, on addressing the racial wealth gap, right? So, understanding that in our place, right? Other places may have different challenges, but in Boston, we, are one of the city of many firsts, with a lot of wealth, and yet we have one of the highest, incidences of wealth inequality in the country. And, there's been a lot of work done, right, in the past several years to try to tackle that deep, deep entrenched wealth gap. And one way is through business ownership, through entrepreneurship. And so, BII's focus on, whether you call them diverse entrepreneurs, overlooked, underinvested in entrepreneurs, was to recognize that these are incredible innovators, folks that are bringing new approaches to needs in our community, that have deep cultural competency and trust in their place. And so why not, right? What's the invest in these incredible founders? There's risk in not investing in them. And so one of the, when we think of what's the first challenge, it's over um uh it's trying to address this bias that many investors have, right, around investing in diverse entrepreneurs, folks that they don't know, that they don't understand, that maybe didn't go to the same schools with them, right? And so that's sort of the first and foremost, that we want to take that chance. We want and believe that these entrepreneurs and the ventures that they're trying to move forward, and many of them are social ventures, right? They're trying to address a need in the community. They're advancing new innovative products or services that are, perhaps addressing climate change, climate resilience, but often just addressing needs in our community. And so part of this is, we wanted to not just so-called take the risk. We don't believe that it's a risk, but rather we believe in investing in the next, stage generation of talent in our communities. So the challenges are, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, around the lack of, the asset base to start a business. Many of them are coming without the networks, without the, the wealth that many other entrepreneurs have, right, to start a business. And we're trying to fill in some of those gaps through our capital, but also through the preparation work, the technical assistance work, the access to the networks, right, to help them develop, whether, they're just starting a business or they're coming to us to grow it. There's still gaps that we're trying to fill. In Massachusetts, for example, there's still, I think, during COVID, there was some increase in venture capital funding and even credit that was going to entrepreneurs of color, right, because of the whole George Floyd murder and a focus on DEI. And then that started to immediately change, right, a few years later. And now it's being completely attacked. The gaps still remain, right? So in Massachusetts, we've got a $600 million annual capital gap for entrepreneurs of color, based on a report that the Boston Foundation did. That has not changed, right? There's still a need to move money to where it's needed most. And now we have a um, obvious retrenchment, right, of capital going to these communities and to these entrepreneurs. The backlash is incredibly unfortunate, right? It didn't start with Trump's coming back into office. It has been going on for a while, right? You go back to the Harvard UNC case 2 years ago, and then, the use of that case to now go after race-conscious investing, race-conscious grant making. It is a tool to cause retraction and retrenchment around investing in the communities that need this capital most. And what I say is, do not succumb to the fear. Don't comply in advance, because not only is it a noble mission to invest in our communities, but it's actually good business, right? In fact, this is the growth that we're going to see and that we are already seeing in our economy is mostly driven by small businesses that represent like 95%, right, of our local economies. And over half of those are being started by women, people of color, immigrants, right? So to ignore this demographic is basically to say, we don't want to grow our economy, right? We don't want to be competitive. We don't want to innovate. And that's part of the challenge that we're trying to come up against, but also trying to go around it by providing this different approach, right? To how we can view risk differently, how we can also create new opportunities, right, for many of these entrepreneurs to get their businesses off the ground and grow.